They don't build the next exactly. I mean, it looks like he has like a above ground pool or something. But it's definitely maybe.
There's a pool, there's a bunch of garden, there's out and stuff. Put a lot of stuff into the property.
Yeah.
I only see it.
Okay, exactly. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 4th meeting of the Village of New Paltz Planning Board. Tonight we have some administrative business to start with, followed by public comment. There are no public hearings tonight, and then we will be reviewing 6 applications. So to start, are there any additions or changes to the minutes from January 1st or January 21st? That works off.
Nikki had one correction of a misspelling that I will correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that.
In that case, can I get a motion to approve the January 7th and January 21st meeting? Second. All in favor? Aye. Next, I'd like to get our updates from, okay, our village board and Ulster County Planning Board liaison is, absent tonight, so. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I was confusing that with our town planning board. Is, Bill Murray here tonight with updates from the village board?
Yeah, he's not here.
Okay. So no updates there, no updates from the town planning board.
It actually, so at the last meeting, I said to the board that I would just sort of go through their minutes and make a quick reply back, because
Great,
Rich said he was considering taking it on, but hadn't yet taken on the job. So in looking at their minutes at their January, I think it was 15th meeting, they had a couple of subdivision applications, and there was a discussion with the attorney and the supervisor about the New Paltz Department's findings. With Emily and I just spoke, and we're not sure that they need to accept the findings, but because they may, or they're probably not, they won't have any permits that they need to grant. But at the time, I think they thought there was a wetland permit that they would be addressed originally, so. So I can either follow up on that, or we can let them just continue.
okay,
Other than that, it didn't look like they had any other discussion items.
okay. Yeah, I see that we have our village board and Ulster County Planning Board liaison here tonight. Any updates from you?
Thank you. Not too much to report from last time, but it's a big topic on the village agenda is this week. The dissolution of the village government. We're into our month and a half of discussions about it, working with a consulting firm. I expect that we'll be having 4 or 5 meetings before wording is put together in August to propose what that referendum would look like. But basically, the referendum would be a yes or a no vote. That then will go to that will be voted on in November. It's a somewhat complicated process, but fortunately, we have a great consultant working with us. There's plenty of information out there that's available to the public. I hope that members of the planning board, members of the public that are here now can attend some of these meetings that we have coming up. That's the big story. The other thing is the Ulster County Planning Board was unable to attend because of this bill for the so if there are no questions, I'll let you guys continue your business.
The dissolution of the village government.
Right.
Can you help me out?
Being no longer village government.
Do the employees of the village know this?
Yes, they've been involved, yes.
Have they been
Yes,
Have they
In terms of-
given layoff notices? I mean, what are you doing?
you're way ahead, you're way ahead, Sarah. That'll be discussed along the way, what to do with employees, with the village in terms of who will be absorbing to the new government of the town. In various aspects of that, that's just something that's gonna have to be discussed.
Also, if my understanding is correct, if this were voted yes in November, it would still be a process to actually put it into place. It wouldn't just happen the
And
next day.
I've been involved in this for probably 20 years in terms of studying the consolidation. I wrote grants in 2009 and 10. Whether or not there would actually need to be layoffs or a reduction in force is really TBD. It's a lot of because there's a lot of people doing a lot of work that will still need to be done regardless. There's limited information about duplication. There may be some, and that'll be all decided in the process, but I think getting to the point where you say that the employees would be, the village employees would go away, that should not be taken as a given in any way, shape, or form at this point in the process.
Level of work still exists, so you still have to have people that execute that work.
Hey, somebody's got to plow the streets.
Right.
Well, right.
Yeah.
There's a whole legal process that this whole follows, Terry. It starts with the village board has to have they hire a consultant who has to put together a plan in consultation with the town. There's a number of advisory committees, one of which will be planning and zoning and code enforcement that actually you may or may not know, but I saw your name on the list, that's probably be invited to be a part of that attack.
Yeah.
And then that plan is then submitted to the voters on a referendum ballot in November, who can vote yes or no. It's not simply just that the village is going to decide this. The voters get to decide. And then if that happens, then the plan is put into place over a 18-month to probably 2-year transition.
20-year period.
I mean, this is a discussion about how you have two governments that's been going on since the 20s. And when I was grants writer for the village in the early 2010, we did a lot of research and study because there may be a good rationale for it, and there may not be, but it is a periodic consideration, and this is a new type of consideration of essentially the similar things.
In deference to all the folks who are in front of us tonight, perhaps looking to invest an awful lot of money in the village, what does it mean for them? I mean, one thing I can tell you about business people, they don't like uncertainty.
Right.
I'm not gonna, I just spoke for you all and I apologize, but I know they don't like uncertainty. So what does it mean for them?
Well, that'll be part of the discussion we'll have, is how it impacts the economic environment in the village and
How do,
how the dissolution will impact economics.
Those answers will all be worked out in the plan, like Bill said, we're in the very beginning stages of this discussion, the village board, and I say we.
It's not gonna disappear overnight. It'll take some time, we really state that, it could possibly be just one time government would be December 31st, 2026. So it's up to 2 years.
but again, in difference to the people that are here, I think they probably need a better explanation than they just got. Now, you don't have to do that tonight, it's not the place for it, but I think they deserve something. I don't think you come before a public body and talk about dissolving a local government in front of people that are investing enormous amounts of money in that village government. I mean, that's their choice. If that goes away, what happens? You may not know, they don't know. That's a bad situation for them. I think you owe something to them, and I'll stop.
just ask you, it's been a discussion, an online discussion at the village board meetings, and there are public sessions that have been going on.
It's been very well noticed at meetings. There's a calendar, you can go to see when our next meetings are. So if you have questions in any aspect of this, you're welcome to come.
There is
in.
a website too, the questions to be entered in to the consultant to
Right. and-
bring to the discussion.
Sure, there's an FAQ section there. You can submit your questions to the consultants, and they will get back to you within 4 or 5 days, or post it on the FAQs. So that question is a good one, which I welcome you to pose to the consultants and see what their viewpoints.
This has been going on for a while, like all over the state, and like it's something the state wants other places to do, so there'd be plenty of other places you could look at. And see how it worked out.
Yes, there've been several attempts at doing it. The most recent attempt in Tannersville was voted down 2 weeks ago by the residents there. How I understand why it was voted down, someone's answer, it was a poor rollout of the idea, and Tannersville residents felt they absorbed it, the town of Hunter. And there was some apathy. But that was voted down. There's a number of cases, again, I can't recite all of them, but there have been some successes and some failures. One of the carrots to this is a tax credit that could be applied to your property taxes. The total amount is about $1 million per year. However, I think only 80% of that, 70-80% goes directly to the property tax relief, and another 20-30% goes to the Oscar General Fund. And that's applied every year. So there's that aspect of savings in terms of the property tax, but also the consolidation of certain services that can save the community center facility.
Thank you for that information. Definitely,
I welcome everyone to come and listen.
are there any other updates from you, Mike?
Just that the Munich Lab is, software is now up and online. The last application on tonight's agenda is our first application to be 100% done from start to current process in that software. The other links on the agenda still go back to the Google Drive, because I'm still making sure, before I make the links be the Munich Lab, I want to be sure that all the files have been moved over properly. The software developers started that process for us, but I want to, verify that everything is up and running. So like I said, that one, we have at least one, if not 2 applications, probably for our next meeting agenda that will also be. So we've, essentially as of February 1st, we've started that transition, and any new applications will be in that system. So anything you see, any recommendations, please feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, however you want to get in touch with me. Open to all recommendations. We're still tweaking it. It's going to be a learning curve.
Great, thank you. So moving on then, I'd like to go to our public comment section. Is anyone here tonight that would like to make a public comment? Anyone online?
If you just have applicants.
Yep. In that case, we can move on to our first application, PD 24-20, Woodland Pond. Good evening. We had a very positive public hearing last meeting. Thank you. And did you get a chance to review the resolution? Yes, yes. So there's only one specific condition of approval, just to read through that. Number one, this approval applies to site plan amendments detailed in the plans identified herein, except as altered by these plans, previously approved plans for Woodland Pond shall remain in effect. There's not, there's just some general conditions and description of the project. Does the board have any questions or comments before we vote on this?
I have one question about the general conditions of bonds necessary. There are none.
It's always in there. We
Okay.
can strike it if you don't want it in there.
I just didn't want someone to say later when we're going in like, oh, wait, what about this? So I'm like, I
We're not
didn't know if any.
Anticipating any bonds on
Right.
this.
Okay.
Okay, so if there are no objections, could I get a motion to approve the site plan amendment for Woodland Pond 2024 edition? Second. Second. Okay, one.
Whichever you.
And Mike, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure, Rachel, Nikki, Terry,
Aye.
Zach.
So have your approval and we'll get that signed back to you. Exactly.
But how many copies do you?
We can speak tomorrow if you want, but I need 3 copies for us to sign, but I'll see if nothing has changed since your last submission, I can start with those copies, so. I'll see how many I have and how many yours.
Okay.
We need 2 to keep for us and 1 for you, so.
Okay. Just let us know when you.
Yeah, I'll count what we have. There's been no changes to the plans, not what we have recently.
I checked the date and we'll look at it later. We'll talk. Thank you everyone for all your help.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Next, we have PB 2407, 147, 149, 151, Chestnut.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, Maximilian Mahalik, law firm of Cutting and Fader. I am joined here this evening with our project engineer, Eric Roden, with Michael North's office, David Burke Architects, and Frank Giotto is our traffic specialist. And then you'll see on the Zoom, one of my bosses, Taylor Palmer, part of Cutting and Fader. Yes.
Good evening. Trying to keep the flu type A away from you all.
Taylor, let's, the audio is a little low unless my hearing's just gone bad.
Can we turn it up at all? Mike?
And here I had to turn that up, but we can try.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can yell.
So, Mr. Chairman, as we look at the volume there, I'm just going to provide the board with a brief update. So if I sit, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. So as the board knows, we did appear before your body in December, where we discussed the procedural history and we began the very always fun adventure of going down the EAF Part 2 form. We returned to the board tonight as one of the items before the board is completing that EAF Part 2. We did provide a supplemental submission to the board following our December submission, just emphasizing things in response to comments that we received both by this board and by village staff and consultants. This included the addition of native landscaping along the north and west property lines based on the comments from the environmental consultant for the village. Also, we did provide renderings, which we'll be able to show the board tonight, from different perspectives, including from a northwest and southwest perspective on Chestnut Street, a bird's eye view looking southwest, and also looking east from the rail trail. We also addressed some of the discussion we had at the last meeting in regards to traffic, emphasizing some of the highlights of the traffic impact study conducted by Lobello Associates, showing that this specific project would not have a significant adverse impact on traffic, and taking a look at a couple different intersections. I note that the village's traffic consultant did submit a letter to that point that this proposal will not create a significant adverse traffic impact, I believe that was dated January 28th. Now, before we go, any further, I want to turn to Taylor and offer him the opportunity if he has any other comments he wants to add. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I'll defer to you, but I do understand that we do have to work our way through the balance of the part two.
Thank you, Max. For the benefit of the board, can you all hear me now?
Well enough, yeah.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I apologize. My dad joke that I missed out on was I'm just trying to keep the flu type away from you all. So hope you're all staying safe and healthy. Thank you for that opportunity, Max. We did also provide some other materials that we haven't submitted to you all, but that we have the benefit of thanks to Mr. Burke, who's with you all, including our client actually did hike up to Mohawk Mountain House and did get a couple images from way up. So we went really all to the ends of at least Ulster County Earth to try and find from the Gunks and others the right materials to try and respond to your comments. So apologies I can't be there with you this evening, but we're certainly looking forward to continuing our secret review with you all.
And Mr. Chairman, just to add, you'll see before you, and I thank Mr. Madden. Today, what this is just a standard letter that our office produces to help facilitate the review of Part 2 EAFs. This addressed all the sections that this board noted where there might be an impact or determined there would be an impact, and we address how those impacts would not be significantly adverse, and we went through each of the remaining sections to talk about, and we just provide this as a matter of convenience as we work our way through the balance of the Part 2.
Okay, thank you. Is this a printed set of
the architecturals.
Okay,
This is the half size of the architecturals.
is there a printed site plan that we could just put out there? Okay.
One on the table?
Yeah, that's.
You don't have one, I have, but you have.
So we have this hard copy, and then also if you want us to share anything on Zoom, I believe, David, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I could share it on Zoom too. I could.
I can give you this copy that we have here.
Or Mr. Mayor, if you want, we can put this in the middle of the table.
That's fine. I mean, the board can all do that correctly. Oh, quickly, we could, just point out some of the like landscaping changes for us, first and.
Yeah, so why don't we do this? Why don't we share my screen?
Okay.
And I'll show you the site plan with the.
You have permission?
I probably will ask for it in just a second. Yeah. Okay, so to respond directly to the board's request from the last meeting, we have removed the trees that are not on our property any longer. And these are the trees on the far side, on the west side of the creek. All right, we have noted the drawings here for a mix of native grasses and landscape to reinforce the banks against the wetland to the north and to the west.
Understood, okay. And you're planning on.
If you want to see that better and you move your chairs up, please do, but unfortunately, the camera and the screen are on the same plane, so. Yeah. Sorry about that.
And I think last time you were here, there was also a question about the bridge to access the rail trail. Is that's remaining in your plan?
It's shown right here.
In addition, there's still a bridge next door, right? Okay.
Yeah, currently they're going to be two, nothing has changed yet on that. each project will have their own access to the rail.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, this is Taylor. We did have discussions with the neighbors for the Agway property. We noted in our most recent submission. There was no definitive answer on that, so they're closing out the specific terms of the private, shared driveway access agreement. But we have expressed that the willingness to participate one way or the other. But to Mr. Baden's point, we are maintaining or at least our proposed access, and I think the last part of the Agway development is their connection. So we'll say there's time, but we've expressed the openness to some sort of shared operation if that comes as a recommendation to that extent.
Okay, and have there been any discussions with the Walco Valley Land Trust about access yet?
There was not to my knowledge.
Would that come later in the process? Or?
Yeah, there would have to be just like with the 137 project and the 145 project, there would have to be an agreement with that agency. So
But does it have to wait over?
no, it doesn't. But until we know if there actually is going to be a bridge or not, I haven't moved forward with getting information, getting any agreement from them, because based on what was said earlier about the discussions that the shared driveway was the bigger priority initially, because this group couldn't really continue their design until that, so they've been focused on that. And I know the 145 people are focused on their construction right now. So, I keep asking the question, and I'm sure at some point we're gonna get a definitive one way or the other answer, so.
Okay.
Since that involves, the agreement involves the village board, it involves quite a few different agencies, it's not just the trust.
Right. Okay, well, I think that addresses the concerns of our environmental consultant.
Zach, has this board expressed a preference about the bridge, whether there should be two or one, or which one? I don't recall this board having.
I don't think we have. I think, there's an argument to be made that having fewer bridges would actually cause less disturbance among that forested area, and maybe it'd be better for the trail, but personally, I do see how it's an amenity for the project, so.
And if I may, the zoning board did weigh in on it during our initial meetings with them in July and leading through October of last year. They did make actually a request that we include it. Now, our variances have nothing to do with the trail, but they did make a request that we consider including this connection. So the zoning board at least made a affirmative ask that we include it.
And similar, even though it wasn't necessarily related to the relief itself, we made some other changes based on zoning board comments. For example, the proposal of the shared driveway with the development to the south. So we've been hearing comments from this board, your historic commission, design review board, and the zoning board, incorporating all those comments throughout this process.
Right. Well, I think moving on, we talked about traffic briefly. Mike, what was the latest update from our consultant?
So it's in your packet, it is the 2-page front and back from DES is the last comment from them, and I believe you received that by email.
Yes.
And we have online tonight Brian Haggerty from DTS to and at the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, which you weren't available for, they had the board had some specific sort of questions and discussions about the impacts at the signalized intersections. And that was sort of the gist of the discussion, so. I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but that's what I mostly remember, so. And I think you were gonna have some reaction to some of the questions.
Yeah, good evening. Chairman Brown, Sprint Village Open with Lobella Associates. So I was on Zoom last meeting. We had a productive month on the front. We had a meeting, pretty big meeting with LRC, Ken Casamento, which reported before. And a 145 project regarding shared access. Their consultants were on, our consultants were on, and the DOT was on the call as well. So we had a good meeting with DOT. All indications, we have nothing in writing yet, but all indications point to the fact that they are supportive of the shared driveway that's shown on the plans. It's pretty much a no-brainer at this point. We're all working towards achieving that. We talked in detail about a few other matters that have come up at prior board meetings. One is the reduction in speed limit along North Chestnut. We know that the DOT currently has that and they're reviewing it. They could not provide an update during our call, but that has made its way to the state, which was, I think, a huge win for not only the village and the town and the applicant, but also New Falls in general, to see if we can effectuate that as part of a private development project. So again, it's not something we can just decide, but we got the parties together and are trying to effectuate that. With that unlocks the ability to realize some of the streetscape improvements that appear on this plan, the bike lane, the on-street parking, the enhanced pedestrianization of the front plaza, all of which would be more tenable with a lower speed limit. So again, all of these things are kind of working together. And we're hopeful that the DOT will rule that it could be lower, because I think it would benefit this area in general.
From 40 to 30,
From 40 to
so
30.
that's right where it turns.
Correct. So at the village line, it goes down to 40 as a transition between 55 and 30. We'd like to push 40 farther north so that it's 30 at the village line.
Essentially, the ask from the village board was that it moved approximately 1,500 feet north of where it is now.
Right.
So where it changed, so, and curiosity, did they give you, because I have not had any communication back from them, did they give you indication that they are reviewing it though?
They're reviewing it. Mike
That's a
Tinney,
start.
who's the permit engineer for DOT for Ulster County, is not the person who's in charge of reviewing speed limit requests. That's the KC. So he knows about it. He knows that it's been in, but he can't speak to its merits yet. But it is a good, it's good news that it's there. It's a win. I think that we all collectively worked on getting it to DOT. But ultimately it's their decision. It's their road. So the other piece to this is obviously the traffic impact discussion, which I think we've had quite a few discussions about in the past. And at the last meeting, we had not yet heard definitively from DTS problem. So I think a lot of the conversations that we had, you were relying on my testimony as the applicant's engineer without the benefit of hearing from my counterpart at DTS. DTS has echoed essentially what we concluded, which was, yes, this project will have incremental impacts that are not deemed significant at certain intersections. Of course, we're adding traffic to a site that isn't active now. There will be an increase in traffic, but does it rise to the level of being a significant impact? And DTS has concluded that no, it doesn't. They do highlight, as we did, that the intersection North Chestnut and Main Street, the northbound approach specifically of that intersection, is impacted as a result of our project. We, and I mentioned this to the board at the last meeting, one of the reasons why we're seeing those impacts there is because we're considering 9 other development projects in New Paltz. Not every single one of those development projects is going to come online. I believe a few of them have already actually gone away, in fact, nor would they all come online at the same time. We've suggested, and other projects have suggested, mitigation in the form of signal timing at that intersection. Again, that falls under DOT's auspices. It's not something the village or any developer can just effectuate, but it is a reasonable mitigation measure that, if it was implemented, would relieve a lot of congestion. That intersection in particular is challenging. Northbound, it's one lane, there's no turn on reds. There's a barn stance there, which means that all traffic is stopped for a period so that pedestrians can cross safely. That's done in quasi-urban areas to provide maximum safety for pedestrians. Unfortunately, that means for the driver, they're stopped longer than they would be if you didn't have that. It's a give and take. So you can't, DOT almost will never undo an exclusive pedestrian phase. It's highly unlikely they'd ever back off of that. So there's minimal things you can do there. I think the bottom line with this project is that we're trying to create, and I think that's part of the mixed use zoning, but it's also, you know, credit to the architect and site engineer. There's elements of the plan here that make this somewhat of a destination unto itself, such that it underburdens Main Street. I know that was a concern last time because of the development in this area, but when you consider the mixed use nature of this site, the fact that residents of this building could go downstairs and have a coffee or grab lunch without ever having to visit Main Street, I think is important to note. So it's the mixed use nature of this development and the pedestrianization, the connection to the rail trail that makes this less auto dependent than it otherwise would be. So yes, in conclusion, I think we do show a few increases in delays at intersections, but nothing that rises to the level of being significant and certainly nothing that is unmitigatable. And I hope that provides kind of a high level summary.
Yeah, I think so. Mr. Haggerty, do you agree with all that? Do you want to add anything about your company's memo?
I pretty much agree with everything Frank said. I was essentially going to say the same thing if I gave my summary first, but like he's pretty much said it already. It was just that one intersection, the signalized intersection. We believe that one approach can be alleviated with some signal timing adjustments. But overall, like he said, there are impacts to intersections, but it's a not project specific. It's kind of a culmination of all the projects coming online at the same time. And that's pretty much it. I mean, they looked at sight distance. We had asked last time. They provided adequate sight distance at the driveway. We had asked for turning maneuvers on the site. They provided some vehicle turning with fire truck, garbage truck, able to adequately maneuver around the site. So yeah, at this time we have no further concerns over this project from a traffic standpoint.
Okay, thanks. Board? Yeah.
You said that a number of projects have just gone away. Which ones are you talking about?
No, it's a good question. Let me just pull up my list here. So at the time we get initially done this study, I believe there was a cannabis company proposed at Millbury. An example of a project that was considered, but now it's,
I could think of when
yeah.
you said that was the only one I could think of.
Yeah, sorry.
And then you still appropriated all
Also
nine.
in your study, yes. So,
This shared driveway,
yes.
it looks like you have trees all the way up to the road. I assume that lines of visibility and safety will be addressed. It just seems like that might be going a little too far in terms of safety.
Sure, I mean, that's a good point. I don't know the specific species there, but I'm sure, you know, David is amenable to making sure.
Absolutely, put safety first.
Yeah,
Where is the list of, I couldn't find it. I was looking to see where the list of different types of trees was on the map, and I couldn't find it.
So the species lists are being developed,
Oh, you haven't made the list yet?
Yeah.
Oh.
but we are pushing for native trees. We specified some cherry, some birch, swell. And the landscape designer is not here tonight, but we will elaborate on that.
And then we did add a note to the plans, just for the board's convenience. It's a bit of a long note, but the summary of that is, trees, shrubs, and native grasses, consisting generally of maple and sycamore trees, shrubs, including red weezer, dogwood, milkweed, buttonbush, and sweet spire, almost makes me hungry. And grasses consisting of northeast upland native warm season grasses. Vegetation that is native, and beneficial, for the ecology of the neighborhood and the village overall.
Okay. Well, you know, the ecology back there is basically, it was at one point a beaver impoundment. So I'm sorry, I keep bringing that up, but the species that they like, birch is good, willow would be even better.
Okay, are there any other questions about traffic or?
Want to follow up on a comment that Nikki made about. But I'm gonna broaden it out a little bit. In my experience, putting fences, vegetation, signs, anything in a site triangle causes problems immediately and it causes problems down the road. So I would strongly recommend that you don't put anything in the site triangle. You can draw it on that plan and don't plant anything in it. I cannot imagine that that tree is not in the site plan.
Yeah, and we can even go further and say there are native plantings that will max out at 36 inches of height. And so the driver's eye is 42 inches. So as long as we're both 36 inches or below, that gives us 6 inches of light. When you're sitting in your car, your eyes are 42 inches. So there would be a stipulation that the max mature height of the species is 36.
And that whatever we propose. Yep, sorry.
Or you don't have anything.
Or again, I'm not the landscape designer, but
We'll definitely take the
Yeah.
comment, we appreciate the input, and we'll definitely take a look and make sure it's done safely. I know we haven't, we've been advised that the site distances so far based on DCS's review for subdivision, but we hear the comment and we'll take a look and make sure we incorporate the appropriate changes. Yep. Mr. Chairman, I'll defer to you and the board if you have any more questions or comments. I do know we have the part 2 to also work through, but we'll defer to you on next steps.
I just also want to note to the board that we got a memo from Renier and Larios, who reviewed the SWIP. And, well, they had some specific comments that kind of were very, large. They were all pretty small details, and I assume that they're, being worked on and being incorporated.
So I can explain this if you'd like.
Sure, yeah, why don't you?
So, given the new wetlands laws, which went into effect January 1st, and this project would have to comply because it hasn't received a negative declaration. The DEC's mapper is where we're supposed to go now to look for any areas that the shaded purple area is the areas that they identify as potential. It is significantly different from the old federal wetlands delineation, which was much like a cigar that kind of went across that whole area where it's not. And I can tell you, having gone out in the field with Greg from Capital, Alex and I joined him. This is what this map shows is pretty much what we found on site, as opposed to what the federal wetlands mapping showed. So that whole area that was shown previously as having federal potential, federal wetlands does not. But I just wanted to pull this. I believe I sent this to Taylor, but if I didn't, Taylor, I will. I know I told you I was going to, and I think I got busy today and didn't get it. But I will send it tomorrow so you have it. I did give a copy to your team tonight, so I don't know if we want them to just sort of. Oh, well, I'll leave it to the board and to Emily to figure out what we do with this, but this is the result of what the DEC mapper shows.
So what I
Thank
think I
you.
understood from talking to Taylor earlier was that, although the law changed, this whole area was already looked at because of wanting to see what wetlands were there for federal purposes and just to know. And so that was already looked at and our wetland expert already reviewed it. So even though the law changed, I don't think it really changes. Is that your understanding, Miles?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, and as I said, this more or less, is what was characterized by the actual visit in the field. You know, he did not, to my knowledge, delineate the actual boundaries of the wetlands, but he identified the areas where they were, and he made the recommendation in his findings of a few additions like planting trees in certain areas. And so it may be addressed, I just sort of felt obligated to pull this for the board to see, so.
And if I may, just to piggyback off of Emily's comments, we're in full agreement. If I may, to my colleague Max, who's with you this evening's Horn, he recently just did the presentation just after the New York State DEC did theirs about the new wetland regulations. So if you really want to help yourselves get to sleep later, ask Max as many questions as you'd like about the new wetland regulations.
Okay, in that case, I think we should continue with the, part two.
What's in your folder is the answers that we arrived at last time in December,
Right,
and I transferred them onto this form and printed it out, so and they have a copy as well.
thank you. So does that mean that section 3 impacts on surface water was the first one that
We left that one blank because we were waiting for Dennis's answers on the SWIFT.
Okay. So I guess we can start there. So I guess, well, there are some impacts or small impacts, so we should probably look through each of these subsections. But do you want to just give us a overview of your memo with regard to
Yes.
this section?
So Eric Roby, he's our project engineers, he can probably provide better specifics than I am sure he can, but I'll take a chance there. What we did is we received a memorandum from Briner and Larios dated January 23. And in that memo, it basically asks for just some clarifications and qualifications just on some information that was on the site plans and the stormwater pollution prevention plan, just to make sure they were consistent. All the items in the site plan were updated to make sure they were consistent with that SWIP. And those responses are itemized in our exhibit A of our submission to this board last week. And then also what we did note is that we had a note from your consultant that our SWIP was well prepared, which to be honest, I don't see often. So I do appreciate that. And also that is a credit to working at Hudson Landis. Eric, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that, but that's kind of our general overview.
No, it was most of the comments were just clean up, labeling things, making sure things match. There was no changes to the design.
Okay, great. So we're just to go through this. Proposed action may create a new water body. No. Proposed action may result in increase or decrease of over 10% or more. The 10 acre increase in the surface area of the body of water. No. May involve dredging more than 100 cubic yards. Construction within or joining freshwater tidal wetland on the banks of any other water body. Does this new map count towards that? I mean, it's not really,
I'm trying to look at, yeah, well, let's see. I'm trying to look back at our notes from Capital as to.
Yeah,
what they said.
the area where the separation between the two, current separation of the two parcels is an area where there was water flowing at one time, and it still does somewhat flow there, and there is construction presented in that area, to my belief, but as far as whether
that's also where a lot.
whether it's a small impact or no impact, I would defer to Greg from Capital, but.
And on that note, we are implementing a number of erosion control features along with the stormwater management practices to avoid any adverse or significant impacts, bioretention, bioswales, rain garden, sand filter, and then all the landscaping proposed, which will help mitigate any impact on water quality for nearby water bodies.
So. That's a lot of mitigating measures and it sounds like a really good thing, but I would be reticent to say it's no or minimal impact if we have to be doing that much mitigation. It sounds like it's being mitigated, so it would be addressed.
The mitigated could be your part 3 answer. You could do what we often have done is say that this is a moderate impact. And then address the mitigation measures in your part 3 to say how it's addressed.
Yeah, I'm looking back at Capital's narrative here. I mean, I think what happened was the Army Corps didn't follow up, right? So once that time passes, then there's no longer an obligation for federal wetland regulations, but.
Did they ever show up?
Occasionally.
But I thought they don't need to show up anymore. Doesn't that the-
Well, they have a 45-day. In any case, I think what Greg from Capital was saying is that this is still taking place close to wetlands. And that's why he recommended the additional tree planting to mitigate the impacts. So it may be I mean, it's up to the board, but you may want to, check the moderate to large and then explain that.
Yes, yeah, I think we should do that. So that's for section or part D. That would be a moderate impact. And then E may create turbidity in the water body, either from upland erosion. I don't believe so.
Well, there's that stream that goes along the rail trail.
But creating turbidity means like just.
Dirt in the water, if they have a whole other side.
Right. Yeah, they're not doing anything in the water. The stream is there, but it's not. The only even close to it would be
The bridge, right?
bridge,
Yeah.
which is gonna cross it, but
Yeah, so I'm
Bridge is necessary.
not sure how. Like if they had something that was like draining directly into the stream that was churning it up, but that's not what's proposed, right?
The erosion control plan should
Yeah,
prevent turbidity. That's one of the standards. It's not to have a discernible turbidity.
yeah, I would say that's.
I assume you'll have a silt fence along that whole body of water during construction.
Yeah, we have a whole construction fund,
Right, yeah, and then you'll maintain that silt fence throughout construction.
Yeah.
But those things tend to, fade over time.
So does any of the surface water get discharged into that stream directly, or does it all get?
Underground sand filter discharges. To stream.
The sand filter though mitigates.
Yeah,
quality,
it's got
right?
a filter to.
Right,
sand
right.
get out there.
Yeah. So,
There's already water going in there.
yeah, or sin, I mean. So does the board feel like that is a small impact from
Which one?
this for G?
For G says wastewater, so I think that would have to be a no, because wastewater.
Oh,
It's just letter E.
Water.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought that was just general. Water.
I think H is the stormwater.
I see. Um. And so H is what you are mitigating with.
Yeah, E is specifically about runoff and disturbance of this stream itself. Which is why I think personally, I think the no or small impact is the answer for E.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so offensive.
I agree, and then, but then for.
That's where you left off, was letter E.
So we're on.
No, I think you said E was no, F was also.
Okay,
No, G is no, and then looking at H. May cause soil erosion, otherwise creates what stormwater discharge. I think based on the plan, that's also a small impact.
Yep, I agree.
I may affect the water quality of more a lot of people. Say again, that's a small impact. Involving application of pesticides or herbicides, no. Nothing. Goes there. May require the construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities.
this project is in combination with the other projects is causing the need for a new pump station. Which the village already has planned, whether this project happens or not. But it is adding to it, but it is very easily answered in the part 3 in that there's a new pump station being.
You would recommend that this is.
I would say moderate.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they all agree to put $100,000?
I don't remember the amount, but a certain amount, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The current agreement is the 2 existing projects and the village paying a third. If this project happens, this project will end up paying a portion of it as well.
And really not to put too fine a point on it, but K talks about treatment facilities. A pump is a conveyance system, it doesn't treat the water.
Correct.
Moves it along.
Correct.
So. That concludes that section,
That's the land of 9.
yes. So,
9 was the one you were waiting on for these answers on the aesthetics.
correct, okay, maybe visible from any officially designated federal, state or local scene resource, I mean, I do think that is going to be moderate.
So, Mr. Chairman,
So,
Mr. Chairman, I just want to note, we do have, in addition to the renderings provided in our drawings, David, well, I think it was Buddy who.
You know, it's a.
Who was the team effort? They went up to the top and took the photos. And so, Mr. Chairman, if I may, we just wanted to show some images we took from, you know, I don't want to misdescribe the original location of the photos. I know they were uphill, but David, if you want to
They're at the tower,
add the, okay, thank you.
yeah, sure, bring them up.
and you know, just. Buddy deserves all the credit for this one. I'm just delivering the message. So here he is standing on the tower, looking east. Towards the village of New Paltz. You can see here Main Street. And you know, the density occurring here at New Paltz Town Center. Route 32 running north. And we've identified through a process of elimination that we've got Zero Place located roughly in this location. And the project in question here on North Chestnut.
Can you zoom in on the project?
Yeah, personal opinion is still a moderate impact, it's mitigated, but
We don't, this is somewhat zoomed, so
It's
it's
already
already.
zoomed.
It is,
going up there.
so this is non-zoomed. Right. And then this is zoomed.
Okay.
And we can zoom in to the photo if you like,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, the main local scenic or aesthetic resources that I was thinking of that is visible from is the rail trail. So
Which we have a rendering of that as well. But there was two requests at last meeting.
Yeah.
There was one from the distance,
yeah,
you know, up on the range.
Mhm.
And then there were renderings that we also have with us today.
And I definitely appreciate the effort, particularly and stuff. I was, my comment. That is that.
David, are you able to put the rail trail?
There's an impact.
Yeah, I can.
Like
move to
it,
the-
but I don't want to.
We just wanted to present these for the board's knowledge because I know there'll be discussions of mitigation for each of these. So if we, Mr. Chairman, could we just quickly show the also the rendering from the rail trail? I know that's the resource you mentioned.
yeah.
Thank you.
Let's look at those.
So we have updated the renderings with the shared driveway. So we have the original two renderings that you've seen already. They're slightly modified to increase the amenity at the base. Elongating this south side. Adding 4 apartments and again, increasing amenity at this location.
And when we say changes, these are all into the plans of the report. We're just updating the actual plans.
And you can see we've added additional landscape to help provide shade and cool the plaza.
But we'll reconsider them based on the traffic.
That's right, absolutely. Again, you've seen this rendering before, really not much change, just a slight elongation at the south side, and then the shared driveway running between the two buildings. The request last meeting was one of a view from the north looking south. So this is in fact a new rendering that you have not seen before. And this just highlights the pedestrian activity and the northern access road into the building. And you can see at the end, the 145 package. And then lastly, rendering. Suspense is getting files.
I'll pull up the
Second, it's here. Might have frozen. There we go. And that is from the rail trail looking across the stream and to the rear yard. You notice the application of 145 also shown. And the pedestrian, or sorry, should I say the residential courtyard. Looking east into the shared amenity.
Okay, and is that actually like the number of trees that will be between the rail trail and?
It's very close. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing those. It's very helpful. I think going through these, then the board's in agreement, there's a, moderate impact or question A. From so for B may result in the obstruction, elimination, or significant screening, one or more officially designated scenic views. Do not believe that is the case.
I don't.
proposed action will be visible from publicly accessible vantage points. I mean-
Around, I think, yeah.
Yeah, there would be some moderate impact based on that. I mean, I guess the question is like, what, does that rise to the level of moderate? It does seem like it's pretty small in that photo, but
I think it's a substantial change from what exists right now.
Would you check moderate for both?
I would,
Seasonally?
yeah, I mean, seasonally, I walk that, run it probably 2 to 3 times a week, and I mean, it's not that it's not mitigatable, I just think to be quite frank, if there is moderate.
yes.
Isn't the bank a bit steep there? I'm gonna have to go by there again.
I have to.
The water is, the water area is considerably lower, but the land itself is very flat.
It's
Can I
very,
look at the
you're at the
plans?
same level.
Isn't there going to be more of a slope in the final plan?
You know, we have our sectional photography, but.
It's not a big difference from the rail trail to the back of our project.
Okay.
Because the stream is down low, but
Okay.
it'll be.
I thought that with
across
with
one way.
those parking lot, I thought it was going to kind of
It's not, I mean,
make it a little
it's,
steeper.
it's like a 1.5 foot higher.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
there's
it will
there's
be
gonna be
that
site
easy.
fill, there
Yeah.
will be site fill, but it's no more than 18 inches. I think. Is what the fill is expected at. So from that vantage point, you're really not gonna be able to perceive. So the view is taken just here. You're standing right here, you're looking between these trees.
I see. Right. Well, I think then that leads us into question D, since the rail trail is more recreational and tourism, I would say. 1 and 2 are applicable. Routine travel will be from the roadway. I suppose.
Considering the existing is a vacant lot in a single family home, I would say that. Suggest that both would be moderate, but could be answerable. In part 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Proposed action may cause a diminution of public enjoyment and appreciation of the designated aesthetic resource. I mean, I would lean towards small impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Similar projects visible within the following distance of the proposed project, yes, I would
Yeah, now they're on.
say.
I never know how that question still works out. Does that mean there's more or less of an impact if there are others, you know?
It's a less impact.
Yeah.
I don't think it has much of an impact. Because, I mean, you know, basically, they're doing exactly what we wanted them to do in this area.
Right.
Okay, so that's all for that section. Number 10.
Number 11, you left off at 10, but we went ahead and answered 12 because 12 was the answer to. So this is where you ended at question 10.
Okay. Well, why don't, can we just review your memo here first? Wait, is this?
It's the one, Roman numeral
Hi.
B,
That's fine.
page 4.
Oh,
February space and recreation
okay.
in the memo.
Okay, so. So,
I think the answer is no.
yeah, I think this is, it's not.
Yeah,
They get,
Oh.
there's no recreational opportunities there, and it's not part of the designated open space plan.
Right.
Do I agree with her?
So. Impact on transportation, 13. The proposed action may result in change to existing transportation systems. I mean, I think this one's pretty clearly going to be a yes. And may see capacity of existing road network.
No.
Yeah, I know,
According
but
to our results,
Right.
the answer is no.
may result in construction, paving, parking area for vehicles, you know. Create existing transit access, you know, create existing bicycle pedestrian.
oh, shit.
May alter the present pattern of movement of people or goods. I mean, I think that one is likely to be.
I mean, but
Moderate,
it's
but-
not gonna, I mean, like, but what does alter the present pattern is like more traffic and alteration? Because you're not, like, there's no other roadway.
Well, I think it will bring more people out to the
So
site.
volume,
And I also think that more people coming from the north may choose to. Not go up Main Street, but they choose to go up. What is that, like Horsenden?
Oh,
Yeah. Town,
or Central Sugar Town instead of Old Henry W. Orby.
yeah,
That's fair,
Maybe.
yeah.
so.
It does say may.
Yeah.
I don't, so I think whatever the impact is gonna be, I think it's gonna be small.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Emily, even if we mark all these as small impact, the cumulative section, we can still mark it. Yes, right. So,
This, Zach, this may be one too, where the other impacts, you may want to bring positive impact into the discussion just by stating they're building new sidewalks and bike path. Which is a positive impact. Impacts don't have to all be negative. We oftentimes think that. Just to-
yeah, I mean. I think that's a good idea. We could you note that it will, you know, the construction of like bicycle lane, you know, will help turn this into a more of a pedestrian corridor.
Still sidewalk connecting to the village. I mean, there's the rail trail.
Yeah.
Bridge helps with that, but
Well, there'll be sidewalk in this area.
yeah.
It's a long-term thing. I mean,
Be like,
you know,
oh, we're safe now, oh no.
Well, there's a crosswalk, right, to the north side of, or the east side of the street, and then you could get.
Yeah, you could walk back and forth. Yeah, that's what they always want you to do. They always want you to cross the street.
yeah,
They want you to cross 299, but it's good line.
You could characterize that as a small impact, but it's still. At least is noted in the record.
sure. So number 14, impact on energy. May cause increase in use of any form of energy. That is a yes. Or a new or upgrade to existing substation.
That's the
That
application.
also, no,
No.
You don't see that. Right.
For creation or extension of energy. Creation of supply system,
and then also, no.
okay. Utilize more than 2,500 megawatt hours per year, it's in the memo as well,
It does not appear in the memo.
assuming that's a no. Even fully more than 1,000 square feet of building,
Some of this might be in the EAF part one. I'll be here, both should have that.
yeah, I'm sure there was 25 hours.
Okay.
So then, yeah,
So the proposal actually will involve heating, cooling more than 100,000 square feet.
and if it's 125,000, then that's 25% more.
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, we're looking at, you know, the use of energy, so, you know. Just because this particular project is gonna heat or cool that much, you know, what does that mean to the, you know. Energy transmission into the village, I mean, I don't think they're gonna be running 750 kV lines in here to keep you going.
Well, there are solar panels too, right? Or was it maybe?
Not
solar?
proposed at
Oh,
this
okay,
time, but you know, if they were proposed in the future, being reality, we'd have to come back for whatever new process is required.
This is the one with the green roof though, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So there's an impact, but I think it's small. So,
So you're saying number D would also be a small impact?
that's in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Okay. So moving on to 15, noise, odor and light,
There's always moisture in construction, so.
And there definitely will be an increase in lighting of some degree.
Yeah, that's right.
So
More like.
Proposed site lighting will face downwards.
yeah, I think there's definitely some impact here, but it seems like it's going to be mitigated, but going through this, it would be sound level, noise levels established by local regulations.
So we won't violate anything set by local code.
Right, there's no,
Are you blasting or
I mean,
doing
it's,
any sort of?
As far as I understand, that was proposed.
it's just excavation, so there's no blasting.
And this one though involved like the removal of
right, yeah. Okay, so section B would also be, well, routine odors for more than 1 hour per day is no.
Bring that to my restroom.
Maybe some light shining onto adjoining properties. So I do think this has the potential to be a moderate impact and you know, we do address some of it here, but I would say moderate.
Yep, and we did provide a lighting plan showing the downward facing lighting, and the avoidance of creating such a nuisance, and we'll be able to help, you know, articulate that for as part of the mitigation installation.
Will lighting be on at night?
Yeah, so, well, it's for the safety of the.
You don't have lights on all night.
Well, for,
That's definitely an impact.
and we could definitely look into that more as part of the any language needed as to mitigation. I do know that we need to ensure safety for users, that use the parking lot at night. But I do know that the lighting plan incorporated that, and we have the, I call them luminaries, I don't think that's, other people call them foot candles, with the measurements of the lighting to show that we don't create a nuisance of stills onto other properties.
That's the official measurement.
Thank you.
Sky glow,
Sorry?
is that what you're referring to, the sky glow?
Oh, yes, that it's the compliant lighting.
There will be, you know, 40 years in the lighting industry here, so there will be some ambient light from more than current, because current, there's nothing there other than a single family house, but I don't know if it rises to the moderate level. I think it maybe is small personally, but because they are providing everything is downward. But it's the board's choice whether you want to classify it as moderate and then use their provisions as the mitigation.
Well, it uses all the nocturnal pollinators. I would say that it's moderate. because it's not just. I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
It's a large part.
it's a large
Yeah.
parking lot.
Yeah. I think I.
What you get is even downward lights will still have reflection. And the building is fairly light colored, looking at the drawings, so light colored is gonna reflect more than dark colored.
Okay. So then on 16, proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. I think that would be.
No, so,
No, I don't think that.
scanning down, I don't think that it's.
Okay. Yeah. Easy. And then consistency with community character or community plans, sorry.
The question is a double negative.
It's double negative. If you know.
Not consistent with the doctrine. It's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
No, Terry's correct, no is the answer, because
Yeah.
if it is consistent.
Yeah.
You wanna check no, if it's not consistent.
Yeah, yeah, I understand, yeah, I think it's. Fits the NDR well.
And that's not the same thing.
And yeah, well, a community character. Just a community character,
I mean, existing community character is very different, but all the plans for the developments along the same thing that are in place are exactly consistent with this.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
so, yeah, just looking at this, just wanted to check some questions.
I think you've checked everything, so I can take this and compile it into a final document, part 2, and share it with everybody for next meeting.
I don't
Okay.
think we decided on this one yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was just looking through these other questions. I mean, I agree that it would be no, that it is consistent with the existing character. The only item on here that I saw that I was maybe questionable was if it's may create a demand for additional services. Is there anything in your memo or in your plan about how much strain it will put on new services?
So I don't think we have specifics on that necessarily, but I would note that. While not traditional community services, we will have the retail area that will provide services for residents and neighbors and residents of the village as a whole. Along with the access to public transit, the bike and rail trail and sidewalk. I would also note that, you know, with the number of units proposed, these will all be folks who are contributing to the community economically. And of course, there will be taxes paid on the property. All those taxes will be going to the benefit of all the public services that we pay taxes to.
In my opinion, it certainly can't create a problem with the schools because the schools are frightfully underpopulated and we need more kids. It's gonna help the schools. And the building is all sprinkled.
Yes,
Right. So how much strain does that put on the fire department? Not that much.
Like they,
And the police department, you know. Accumulation of all these new apartments, I'm not. We talked about 200 units. South of the college, and there didn't appear to be any impact on the police there,
yeah,
so.
okay,
I
you're
think,
gonna have an impact you expect with college.
yeah, you think.
yeah. Okay, well, I'm comfortable with marking this as no as well. So with that done, what would our next steps be?
So my suggestion is, there were a few items that where the board clearly had some concerns about, for instance, the aesthetic impacts, the light impacts. And I think that we're gonna need some more, explanation or suggestions from the applicant as to how those can be mitigated. So that the board can consider whether overall it's a significant adverse impact or not.
Could I propose, so we'll provide all the information, question, just in light of timeliness. Would it be possible if the board would potentially consider at least start drafting a part 3, then we could incorporate the information we provide into that?
Yeah, there were some areas that I think we can draft the part 3 based on this memo and other things where there, like the SWIP takes care of the erosion and things like that. It was really, to me, it was the aesthetics, the light, and if anyone remembers other things that we needed, like actual mitigating factors and not just an explanation.
Yeah, I'm comfortable authorizing preparation, part 3, or starting that process now.
So,
Board agree, okay, so we have. You moved, is there a second? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
And I'll circulate the completed version of this to everybody tomorrow.
Thank you.
Do you have ideas for mitigating the visual impacts and the light and things like that? Is that?
So I think we'll articulate a summary of all the material we presented, but it'll be for example, the visuals. And if you have any thoughts on it, feel free to back me up. But I would say the landscaping, the fact we've modified the design based on comments of the design review board. The modifications to some of the rooftop amenities we did based on comments from that board. And also just how the site was laid out. A lot of it's actually, pretty set back from the actual rail trail and they've got that 38% open space. So we could summarize all that.
But does the board actually want changes to mitigate those impacts, or are you okay with the plan as it is?
The courtyard in the middle, that's above the area, it looks like the building sort of fits in, the wet areas come in between there. So that courtyard in the middle, was that mostly cement or would it be, is that paved?
Let me just quickly share it. So I'm clear about what you're asking. So the courtyard in the middle is meant to capture the runoff from the roof,
Right.
right? And it's meant to be allow the water to infiltrate into the ground. So it is in fact very pervious, right? It's a green courtyard. And it's also meant to give the residents a place to be outdoors.
Sure. So
And-
between the trees, it's not paved.
No, it's not.
That's what I
There,
was-
well, let me just be very
It looked like in the
specific.
Picture, it looked like cement, so.
Pervious pavers is.
Well,
phrase
the
I've heard.
paved areas are, for safety, to bring people in and out of the building.
Right, sure.
So for instance, on the perimeter, you have paved walkways that allow the residents to move from one side to the other. But inside these perimeter paving is all, it's a catchment area for water. It's effectively, it's sometimes with a lot of rain, could become almost a wet location. So it's very pervious, very green, with the exception of the areas that the pavers show circulation.
There was something else I noticed on the rendering that I wanted to ask about. It seemed like the railing. When you're looking at the roof, there's that like high railing.
Yeah.
Was that something that the design review board?
They did comment on the railing, and they preferred it being smaller and set back.
Yeah.
And so we did, at one point, we did remove or reduce the height, move it back so that it's less impactful on visual. That was really their main comment.
I mean, it's still pretty visible. Is that like a code regulation that it has?
It has to be a certain height.
It does have to be a certain height, and in fact, I feel like it does provide actually a cap, if you will, to the building. So aesthetically, I think it actually does complete the top edge of the building as a, you know, like a traditional kind of cornice, but it also providing, you know, a safety requirement to anybody who goes up on the roof for maintenance. Right. And what material is that made out of? It would be a steel rail painted, most likely.
For the view from the rail trail, were we okay with?
Yeah, I mean, the only question I had about that was that it seems very open, and I don't know, like based on the site plan, it looks like there are actually more trees that will be between the rail trail and the parking lot, but
I think you're right about that.
so yeah, I would like to see a little more screening, but maybe this isn't representative of what's on the plan here.
And also just to note, we'll provide all the information requested as part of incorporating mitigation for secret as the board knows, of course, we'll be for you for quite a while, sure, still on a site plan, special use permit subdivision overall, not just secret, so. There will be things that will also be flagged as a sugar that minor things that will be changing. Understood, yeah.
Yeah, we just need to make sure at this point that the board, if the board wants to do a net deck, that the board can confidently say that the project as it exists does not have a significant adverse impact. So if, you know, if you need anything else for that to be the case, then now's the time we need to add it.
No, I don't need it.
No, I thought the mitigations that were discussed. Wasn't looking for additional.
Got it.
Yeah, I think that was really the only questions I had as well.
Zach, I had one question on the loading areas. I don't know if you wanna take
Oh, right.
time now, or we could certainly wait and do it at another meeting, but.
Yeah, can you just explain?
Yeah, are you able to put up the image that showed, and maybe zoom in on like, there were couple loading areas. That look to me like they're just sort of stopped in the flow of traffic. And unload at the curb and like wheel. I'm not sure if that's loading areas for the businesses or what that is, because but they sort of feel to me like they're in the traveled path. And, you know, it's a personal preference of mine, but I'm not a big fan of, I'd much prefer a separate loading area away from the
These on
travel.
it's the loading on your plans, Eric.
The loading is on the.
There's
back
one in the
building.
northern part and one on the back part that I saw for sure.
So there were a couple, we have a vehicle turning plan, which I think they also. Highlighted then,
Yes.
I know DTS also addressed this, but we can start with this, I believe.
So these are the vehicle turning.
Yep, and then if you zoom in, yeah, might have to get rid of that scroll bar on the left.
Yeah. There was a loading area for sure in the northern part.
Yep, so I see, Eric,
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong,
it's-
loading,
There,
there we go.
Yeah.
and then right here, there's two.
And then I would just note, just for the board's convenience, DTS. Did note that the loading zones, were identified on the site plan and the turning templates demonstrate adequate maneuverability to these areas, as well as the dumpster area for a garbage truck. I just, I'm only.
No, and I understand, they
Yeah.
don't block the turning radius, it's just, and again, I wanted to bring it to the board. Maybe my personal preference, but making the loading area be in the path of travel. I don't know if you can zoom in a lot more on the upper part of that screen there, right in there is the loading area. And you'll see it's just a part of the traveled way.
And that might also be the fact, I know some different diagrams for the fire apparatus versus a garbage truck. And so there might be different widths on that, but we'll clarify that as part of the information we provide.
I just wanted to bring it to the board to have them look at that detail and see if you like or don't like it.
What you're seeing here is a fire truck. Engineered turn.
Right.
So you're not, this isn't the path that all traffic would take. It's the path a fire truck. would
Okay.
take. Sure, so that's a unique condition that would happen all the time.
Yeah, so, I mean, would two cars fit next, if there was a truck unloading, would two cars fit side by side next to that?
They could, but it would be tight. So I mean, I think in the past, you know, as our site plan, we could stipulate certain loading times when, you know, peak activity is not happening. Or we could find a design solution.
And as a plan then, that they would, you know, if unloaded there, I see the sort of curb cut into the building.
Yep.
Would, you know, somebody be delivering on a dolly or a hand truck and coming into that, I'm just picturing with the large amount of commercial space that you potentially could be getting large deliveries.
There's also a second way out of that parking area. There's a,
Yeah.
to the left, you can go out that way, so
True.
it's not blocked.
And the other loading area was along the back side.
Right.
I think I only saw two, I don't know if it was. I mean, that one does appear to be in the traveled way based on the arrows.
We definitely hear the comment as part of the informational provided, as I understand the board is authorized the drafting of the part 3 will provide commentary on that, but I appreciate the comment.
Yeah, it's more about the site plan
Site plan
than the
thing,
part.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
People pull off.
Yeah.
Easy enough to do. It's plenty of problem.
Okay. So for our next steps, would we consider setting a public hearing? Or do you think we're at that?
If you're ready, we can. I mean, we don't have to, we could open the public hearing and keep it open for a while we're going, you know, one of the next steps too.
Yeah.
If we want to do that.
Yeah, I do think we want to give adequate time for the public to hear about it and.
Yeah.
Comes together, so.
Would you want to consider setting the public hearing for the March meeting? And then there'll be one more meeting where they could potentially come back with answers for the part 3. And set the public hearing for the March 4th meeting. Gives a little more time to get answers to the part 3 and. Get that completed, just a suggestion.
Yeah, I don't. Have a strong opinion,
Seems fine.
sure, okay, so. I get a motion to set the public hearing for. March. Fourth.
And run to the center of the state.
Oh, right.
February.
So motion to set public hearing for March 4th.
So move.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye. And Mr. Chairman, may I just ask a point of clarification? The board did authorize the drafting of part 3 of the AF, correct?
Yes.
So, because I know Taylor's gonna ask that immediately when I get in the car.
It also needs referral to the county planning board, but you're not gonna get on their agenda till March 5th, so you could potentially wait until the next meeting. Possibly complete the part 3, because the county planning board is gonna wanna see what they call a full statement. And certainly the EAF part 3 is part of that full statement.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, I think,
It'll be enough time to still get on there,
we should hold off.
they'll accept it.
Great. Believe that is all for tonight then. Is there any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great night.
Can you end your survey?
Get on safe.
Yes.
You have 2501. 30.
Big Toter of Boulder Architecture. And there was an update today, very minor, to the proposed site plan. So want that, we do that, and we'll have the latest. But it is, they were very minor changes, so the house shifted a few feet, the pool shifted a few feet. Anyway, so this is a project in the upper corner of the Green Acres neighborhood on Cooper Street. And it is a double lot, and they're flag lots currently. And the owners want to combine them into one lot and build a house. And so for you for subdivision or re-subdivision review, as well as site plan review. And then we're also seeking a 5-foot building height variance from the ZBA. I think for the most part, that is a roughly independent design consideration than what we're looking at, but certainly it's tied together in the design, and that's that aspect of the design being slightly in flux still is one of the reasons why it was very small. We're trying to do a final version without the site. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or give other presentation.
Do you know how long you plan to be or think you'll be done with the ZBA?
They set a public hearing for the next meeting, and so I think they're going to make a decision soon, and one way or the other, or somewhere in between, and then we'll know what that final piece is.
The earliest it would be completed is March 11th, based on. They have a public hearing scheduled for February 11th. So they would hold their hearing, potentially review the 5 factors, but it also has to be referred to the county planning board yet. They did have some concerns and questions. For the board's information, this borders the Millbrook Reserve, and the ZBA asked that we send to the Walkill Land Trust for comment, and they sent back a letter saying that they had no comments to make, and they also noted that the trails are a distance away from this property. So,
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt. There's a terrible patch of rayos on that deep clock. Terrible. You can see it coming up because the reflection, you cannot see it down. Somebody almost just, I think put this chair right on top of it,
yeah.
but it meets all like.
Okay.
Is everyone okay? No one got hurt?
Yeah, I saw that patch. It's isolated. Everything else seems pretty clear.
They were this afternoon.
Yeah.
Something melted in my friends.
Yeah, I think that's what is happening out there because it was warmer.
Yeah, the temperature dropped considerably. But then that's the status of the ZBA. The earliest is March 11th, or excuse me, March 11th will be the earliest. Because they only meet every month, not every other, twice a month. So.
And I see, so the garage is sort of below grade, the whole site slopes this way towards the west, is that
Yes, it falls off away from where the pool is, towards Millbrook Preserve, that's kind of lower. Also downhill is down the slope of Cooper Street. So towards that house at 28 Cooper. So it's fairly level with this also 34 Cooper across the kind of crest, and then let's say it goes down in a couple of directions. So yes, the garage, the basement, you know, door there.
Oh, what we can do tonight first, is the single family home, or can I get a motion to classify this as secret type 2?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I mean. I don't have any other major questions right now. Was this also, do we have a memo from Alex about this?
Yes,
Did we look at-
that should be in the, it is in the folder now. Emily pointed out it was not, but it is in the folder now. So,
And so he says, does not meet the village requirements. Oh, that's the.
For the height.
Yeah, well, for the height, right. Okay, must proceed. Approval. So. Is this, are we just reviewing the site plan, or
It's
sorry,
the
the,
subdivision and the
Subdivision.
site.
subdivision,
Yeah.
because they're merging two lots.
Lots.
So it's a lot line deletion to combine two lots to end up with one. Sure. And it's a site plan review for the single family house.
Right, so I would suggest that we waive the preliminary plat requirements, which we're encouraged to do in the code if it's less than 4 lots. And go right to the final plat.
do we need to make a motion to?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
Do I get a motion to waive the preliminary plat requirements?
So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I think then we should schedule a public hearing, so.
it does not need referral to the county, even though it's on the boundary line of the town, because it's a single family house, it's exempt.
Okay, great, so could I get motion to schedule the second public hearing for February 18th?
Do we have a complete subdivision plat? Because we should have that before we schedule the public hearing.
Menbach and Eggers is working on their
Okay.
version of this. I don't know where that is, but
Just
I
the sub-
want,
yeah.
I know you need it certainly to get to the end.
Right,
Yeah.
well, the subdivision rules are a little bit more structured, and it says in there, we're supposed to schedule the hearing after we have the plat. I mean, if we scheduled it out 2 meetings so that we had the plat before.
You could
know,
do the same thing we did with the previous application scheduled for March 4th.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, so could I get a motion to set the public hearing for March 4th?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So David, if you can get that to us before the I made it before the 25th, the week before the public hearing. That would be
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's all for tonight. We'll see you back with
That actually would coincide well with the potential ZBA public hearing, too, so it's all together. David, you have our copy of the service for me?
Well, I have several.
Okay, I just need one.
Very
Have
good.
all the rest, but
Okay.
I'll take one of the jackets right there.
Is that cool?
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you very much.
Have a very good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, could we have TV 2503 before the top, and then the board. Yes.
Oh, you did?
Well. So, give us an overview of what.
Yes. When I came last meeting, you were some people, and this is residence plan within the village. It's gonna be the Oxford home. And part of the home layout is to build a retaining wall along the property line. And while we were laying it out, I was talking with Andy, and we never, at the time we were designing the residence up here, kind of kicked around the idea of doing an access here, but time, there was a different house here. And it didn't seem prudent. Now that we're under construction, we do have a stormwater retention area in the back, and that's it. I'm gonna put a wall up 115 feet over the line, create an access way in case they need it in the future. And I asked the board if be open to that idea, they seem to, so I came back with an amended site, just a 1-page plan showing the proposed wall. The board still
slides that one of those copies.
This is what we did last time.
Yes, this is
Yeah, a little Deja.
I was, yeah, it's caught up a little bit.
So part of the reason we discussed doing this tonight is because potentially holding both public hearings simultaneously for the two projects, the amendment to add to the site plan to add the retaining wall, and then the public hearing on the site plan for the home itself could be held as the same public hearing.
Sorry, these are two different applications.
Yes,
That's when I moved. Yeah, so this would give a future, if they ever needed a service entry to get back here to service the stormwater retention area, gives them a way just to come in, I'm gonna give them an easement to track over the end of Hans Brook. And get back and get it back going through the other areas. Then skip them up on top.
So the application that's before us tonight is not the single family house, it's the application to add the retaining wall to the senior housing.
Okay. It's basically 2 to 5 foot wall just to bring the grades level so you can transition.
Sure.
Well. It's fine. So, the last meeting, it was not, because the votes for seeker were.
We didn't have this application yet, we just talked about it, the potential, and so.
So
this
the
is
single
first
family
time we're
house
seeing
was
this
done as a type 2 and set for public hearing for next meeting. So what we would do tonight is have to classify this for seeker, this project, and also set this one for public hearing. If you think it's complete.
Yeah, so can I get a motion to classify this as seeker type 2?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And could I get a motion to set a public hearing for February 18th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Yeah, it's,
Emily, I have a question for you. So this shows where the retaining wall is gonna go, but ultimately, because we're amending the site plan, we should have a new copy of that full site plan showing this, correct?
We should.
Okay, so don't need it right away, but
Yeah, just
it would be a condition of approval that you amend if the board approves this,
Yeah.
how many copies would you want?
I would need 3 copies that would show this on the full site plan
Absolutely.
and show the detail that goes. He drew this as if it was part of the house and it's actually part of the other application. So,
I just wanted to show this
Yeah.
here, because
No, this is great.
back and then I'll transpose it to the other side. Sure.
Right, appreciate the board.
Thank you for turning it around so fast. Appreciate that.
Is that the mail for that public hearing?
Yes, I'll, should I send it to Hector?
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Yeah. Because if I say I'll do it, it really won't fix it.
He already told me, he said, send anything to him, so, that's what I would do.
That's awesome.
Next up, we have PB 2503, 54 South Manhattan. Oh, sorry, that was the last one, 2504, 8183 North Chester. So.
So, a couple of things I can explain, it's in Nicola, but I can explain, there's a lot going on this property, so if you want, I can give you the 30-second explanation.
I mean, maybe the applicant could give us their 30-second explanation first while I
Sure.
pull it up.
It's the site that was Village Pizza. We're working on opening a restaurant there. So it's like a shared property with a couple apartments and a physical therapist office over there in the parking lot shared with about 30 spots. There was outdoor tables there existing. I don't know if they were approved previously.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were hoping to have some outdoor seating, and there was also a drive-through on the south side of the building. We were hoping to fence off for some additional tables along the side.
She wouldn't have the window there.
We wouldn't be doing a takeout window, yeah.
And there would, so you'd be,
There's like an awning, like where the takeout window was, so we'd just be fencing up underneath the line. It wouldn't go into the right of way going into Chestnut.
okay, so cars would not be able to exit? that
No,
way?
they would, yeah. It wouldn't go into the drive at all.
So the outdoor seating would not. I'm sorry, I thought I understood, the way I was listening to it, the outdoor seating would be where the drive-through is now, the additional outdoors.
No, it would be underneath the awning on that side of the building and in the front of the building towards 32. Or the
Where it was.
yeah, where they have the tables.
Yeah, I think Alex or myself misunderstood when you said closing the drive-through. I think we were thinking of the traffic way being closed, not the.
So
the actual drive.
we had talked about that when I came in. I'm just worried about deliveries, just because trucks can't turn around in that parking lot. So if we close that off, they would have to stop on 32 to make those. Like I'm not opposed to it. I talked to the landlord, he's not opposed to it. I just don't know the solution for deliveries.
One thought is you could leave it open only for deliveries. I don't know how that would be.
Like have it be modular.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really, I mean, I never drove through it, but I used to go get sodas there because you don't have to go into the shop, and if you have dogs.
Right.
It's nice to have a window there where you can get stuff. I used to always get sodas there.
Well, it's gonna be,
And
the way you described it's gonna be more of a restaurant though, not a
No,
fast food
Yeah.
place.
right. And it's seating, it's nicer to sit between the parking lot and the rail trail. There's a picnic table there, but it's gotten all broken up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to,
Um,
put a better table there.
Yeah,
Or is that not?
we could put a table there, but as far as like serving through the parking lot, I don't know if we're
Oh, no,
interested in
no.
that. But like, yeah, we're happy to
Carry
integrate the
that.
rail trail into the restaurant.
You need, you have to.
So in Alex's review, the outdoor seating appears it was never approved from the previous business. It just sort of happened. So the restaurant cafe is an approved use in the property. Also on the property is a second building that has a office downstairs, residential upstairs, that's approved already, and no changes proposed to that. But the outdoor seating is what's triggering the special use for this application because it was never approved previously.
What about the ice cream?
Understood.
It just never went through the proper process, so we figured we should fix it now, so.
So yeah, I think what the board is evaluating is a special use permit for the outdoor seating and then a site plan amendment, right? Well,
Site plan amendment for the restaurant, because the applicant can tell you, but he's not proposing any exterior changes other than painting and the sign is what he portrayed to us.
Yeah, just to
What
look like
kind
those.
of painting and the consulted with art?
On Monday, we're with them, yeah, so we proposed the paint color and we'll see what they say.
Then we picked a paint on the historical lines.
And so is there an updated site plan that will show the outdoor seating or?
It's it doesn't show the outdoor seating, it just shows the site plan and the parking, so.
I put
You did?
yeah, I put the tables proposing on there, yeah.
What kind of restaurant are we?
Casual dining, so Julie is an owner of Huckleberry and we're co-owners of Darling's, so similar menu.
Was it on this one or a different one?
Yeah, that one, so just those squares in the circle.
Oh,
those
those
are
okay.
the tables, yeah.
So this is a copy of the approved site plan of what exists right now, the larger one.
the approved one shows a fence across the front, there's no fence there.
Yeah, the DOT made me take it down.
Okay. Well, we're gonna need a site plan that has all the.
To show the tables.
The tables are the black
Yeah,
dot, and then the little circles would be like little tables.
yeah.
Just two-seaters. Mhm.
And would there be any changes to the landscaping? or-
There isn't any landscaping.
There's-
Yeah, there's.
There's planters that are like lining, with the road, so we. Put some plants in them.
Refresh
Refresh
that?
them.
Yes.
Great. Yeah.
So did you get like the pizza ovens and the soft serve machine?
No, it was empty, it was a. It's us. We're looking into. Possibilities.
Yeah.
And what about the giant ice cream?
That's that's
Still debating.
it's kind of forcing me into looking into soft serve machines at the moment.
Yeah.
You may want to consider asking the design review board.
Yeah.
They may treat it like an iconic sign.
No, I know.
Yeah, now there might be,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
But you've done a lovely job with those.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely, I think like the sign would need to be changed because there are. Regulations about like internally lit signs and stuff.
If we just change the lettering on it, it would trigger that.
Uh,
I don't know.
We'd have to get a ruling if it's pre-existing non-conforming.
Yeah, depending on if you can present a drawing or something of what you're proposing. Then Alex could review and see if it's a significant enough change that it.
Okay.
Or if it's pre-existing, if they're just changing the lettering. We'd have to get a ruling from Alex. As to how to use that. Whether it's code compliant or not. So.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, but those planters are not done regional site planning, so. You'd have to put those on your plan if you're gonna keep them.
Got it.
Right now.
Okay.
They're not supposed to be.
Yeah, this is in the NBR, so we do have, standards we're supposed to, the board needs to look at as far as landscaping and lighting, things like that. NBR is the neighborhood business residential.
Yeah,
or something. Yeah,
Neighborhood business residential.
yeah. That Route 32, so I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently the DOT.
You need to do a site plan.
Yeah, we definitely will probably need well, not probably, we will need a new site plan.
Yeah.
But given the information you have, I would imagine it'd be fairly easy for a professional, or you can even do it yourself, you don't have to hire a professional, but it needs to be stamped.
Okay.
And just show all the details of the things you're proposing.
What are the, you said that there's regulations on landscaping for the NBR, what do we have to follow up for that?
I can
Yeah, what's
email you a copy of that section to the code, so, and we can also, I can email you a scan of that, approved site plan.
I think I saw it on the, you uploaded it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's uploaded there.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, everything, with the, good lab.
Because of the guinea pigs.
Yeah, and I will say they were very patient in working with us and getting it through the process, so thank you for that.
And also, did Mike talk to you about the special use permit narrative that we need for the application?
So the 5 questions are in the meeting lab, but what I've realized, Emily and I talked about this yesterday, it just is a yes or no answer right now, and so we need to add another section where you can expand on why you say yes or no. So they have answered the 5 questions, but they've answered them in a yes or no format right now. So
And are
we need
they-
to fix that.
I mean, are there any specific questions for like outdoor cafe, outdoor dining?
There's, I'm talking about the 5 questions that are normally on the special use permit application.
But there are special questions for outdoor dining.
Cafe.
It's not much, it's just like, if it's far
I'll email
enough back
it
from
to
the
you.
property line, it's probably fine, but yeah.
I'll email it to you.
Sounds good.
I'm just looking at the site plan, the approved site plan from 2005. It has a note on it about installing a sidewalk and curbs in front of the building. Is there a sidewalk there?
No, there isn't.
No,
You have to walk through the parking lot.
On the front towards,
On the Route 32 side?
yeah, you can walk in front of the building there,
You
But
can
yeah,
is there a
walk through the building,
sidewalk?
But there isn't a sidewalk.
it's,
Unfortunately, we couldn't locate the actual decision that went along with that site plan.
Well,
From
but it's-
2004.
It's on the site plan and it's dated and signed.
Yeah, it says agreement.
Sure, it's pretty clear.
Yeah,
No, I know, I'm just saying that, we couldn't. Nicole's searching for it, but it doesn't exist.
But isn't
Big
the
escrow
agreement
tax
note,
somewhere?
right, and the agreement note that's sitting right here on
Yeah.
the site plan, that's not a sufficient legal.
I don't know, I'm just saying that we can't find a written decision at the moment, so it probably is.
Was there have a look for an escrow check?
It was 20 years ago, I don't know, if those records are gonna exist,
Worth looking for, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice there, but. Not sure how to deal with that. I mean, would that be something the landlord would have to do, or? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Is the current owner
it's the same one.
from all those years ago?
Oh, I saw.
Call her attorney. Oh, there she is. I mean, come on.
I mean,
A sidewalk right there is a great idea.
Understood,
Number 2, it's very expensive.
well, is there a CO?
there is a CO,
Oh,
That's unusual.
actually, there were several.
Yeah,
There've been several granted since then, so. Well, that one was in 2019. So.
Oh.
And I can't answer for what people did or didn't do.
well, we're amending the site plan, so we'll have to, you know.
Yeah, the board will have to decide if they.
Well, I think, yeah, with those three things, the amended site plan, the use permit questions and, you know, you looking into the NDR standard and just incorporating that your landscaping or sign design, that would be all we need to move forward and go on with the public hearing. Yeah, so hope to see you back soon, and until then, let us know how the design moving forward. I guess they'll upload their memo to Community Collab.
They'll email it to me and we'll upload it, but
Okay.
yeah, it usually comes a week or two after their meeting, like that, so. They're getting done next Monday.
Yeah, they said that they were expecting to make a decision on that today.
Yeah, they will, but they'll send a written memo. Soon after that, so. Usually about a week after their meeting, I get that written memo.
Great. All right.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you guys.
And then, you guys
Careful, that ice.
get that site plan for us and then.
I'm not, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really quick though. Just hold on one second.
Great. Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make it.
So the last item on the agenda is the 22-04. It's just the resolution. That was out here. Yeah, thank you.
This actually was voted on at the last meeting and approved, but then they also authorized them to write the decision, so really. I don't know how you wanna handle that, cause it got voted on at the last meeting. Yeah, okay. Okay.
So can I get a motion to approve the special use permit and site plan extension for 184 Main Street, 22-04.
Second.
Have a roll call vote, I guess.
Sure, Rachel? Nikki? Terry? Aye. Seth?
And could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.